So tomorrow is the day when we're planning to capsize Tarka. Why are we going to do that? Well, it's a test to find out what's going to happen. I feel like I need to know, have some idea of what might, how it might unfold if we were to capsize Tarka one day by accident. I think it's unlikely, but it can't be ruled out. There are plenty of stories I know of similar boats having been capsized by accident by very experienced sailors. Roger Barnes has got a video describing his accidental capsize of his boat Avril Drow, and I met another Cornish Coble sailor last spring in Coniston who told me all about his accidental capsize and how difficult he found it to get the boat upright again. He had to wait until the boat had drifted into shore before he could recover it. And this story popped up on Facebook not long ago of a Drascan that capsized out at sea. So it certainly could happen. A gust, a mistake, could cause a capsize. The list of questions that I've got that I hope tomorrow will answer. Well, the first one is how difficult is Tarka going to be to capsize? I think going to be tricky. That's why I've got Sarah to help me. I think it's going to be a two-person job. When she's on her side, how quickly is she going to invert, if she's got any tendency to invert at all? Hopefully the wooden mast and gaff will have some positive buoyancy and help to prevent her inverting, as will the big heavy metal centre plate on the other side of the boat. I'm hoping that she'll stay on her side. How low in the water will she float? And how easy will she be to recover? Once she's recovered, how high in the water will she float at that point? And most importantly, will the waterline be low enough for us to be able to bail her out without the water coming back in as quickly as we bail it through the centreboard slot or the other low point, which is the outboard mounting transom at the back of the boat. We'll also have a look at the centre plate while she's on her side, see what condition that's in, and if we can see anything that might explain why we've been having a bit of problem with centre plate vibration. First, good look at the bottom of the boat as well, and see if I can see anything after it's spotted before that might need a bit of attention. Buoyancy tank test as well. Planning to capsize her both ways, give her 5 or 10 minutes on each side and see how much water comes into the tanks. I'm expecting a bit of water to come into the aft locker because I know there's a bit of a crack there that is one of the jobs for the boat builder in a few weeks' time. And I think that's about it. My main worries for tomorrow, I suppose, are what if she fails the test? So what if she can't be bailed? That's going to make recovering her from the lake quite tricky. I'm not quite sure what we'll do then, but putting some extra buoyancy in the form of dry bags filled with water, shoving them underneath the benches at the back, will hopefully lift her out of the water enough to make bailing possible again. And then the long-term answer, I suppose, if that were the case, would be to tie some purpose-built buoyancy bags in that area permanently, which would be a bit of a shame because that would take away some storage space. Serious leaks in the buoyancy tanks as well. That would be a bit of a surprise, apart from the one locker at the back which I've mentioned. One other thing to think about as well is the centre plate. Not going to have deep enough water to invert Tarka tomorrow, but got to investigate the possibility of the centre plate disappearing if she were to invert. That's the worst case scenario I can think of, apart from Tarka actually sinking, is so going upside down and the centre plate disappearing into the hull and us not being able to get it out again, and therefore not having any way of getting her upright again. So feeling slightly apprehensive about it. There are some unknowns, and of course I want her to pass the test with flying colours, and for it all to be very straightforward and simple, but we will find out tomorrow. Hey, ready? Okay. Okay, start putting her over. You okay? Okay. Okay, keep pulling. You're about to see probably my biggest mistake of the day, where I didn't allow enough depth for Tarka to sink into as she capsized.
Pull it very hard.
Okay, let go. Let it come up. She went to ground while she was capsized. I'm going to try again, a bit further out. Fortunately, no harm was done, and it was inadvertently a good test of her stability, because as soon as Sarah let go of the rope tied to the top of the mast, Tarka popped straight back upright again. Okay, let's do it again. Once she was on her side, I walked round to have a good look at her underside and first ever look at that centre plate. There's the centre plate. It's pretty rough. That might explain the vibration. After letting her float on her side for a few minutes, I righted her without too much difficulty and watched what happened when she came upright. There was a lot of water in her, but you could see the buoyancy tank starting to work as a lot of the water immediately started draining out through the outboard slot at the back, and after a few seconds it was clear that she was going to be easy to bail. So we capsized her the other way, and here she is capsized on her starboard side now. It was at this point that I noticed water dripping out of the upper buoyancy tanks, and I went to investigate. It seemed to be coming through the inspection hatches. It was clear that something was wrong, especially as she was now floating low in the water, so it seemed to be a good idea to get her upright as soon as possible. And going round to the far side to do that, I could see that the centreboard was now underwater. It had been just above the waterline the first time we capsized her. It took a bit more effort to right her second time round, and once she was upright, we started to pull her back in towards the shore, and I found the bucket to start bailing. It was a good job we hadn't left it any longer. So it's that's the low point at the back. So that's the bit where it was critical, and that was very, very close. So
Sorry, what do you mean it's very, very close?
Well, there was water coming in over that bit when I was bailing out. I was bailing out faster than it was coming in. So, but more buoyancy at the stern in those lockers potentially could sort that out. After a little bit more bailing, it was clear that it was only a question of time before Tarka would be dry enough to bring her ashore. So I was able to relieve Sarah of her duties as assistant and spotter. We'll be all right, thank you. After about another half an hour of bailing, I brought Tarka ashore and then sponged out the buoyancy tanks to make her as dry as I could. Straight after that, with all the hatches open to air out, I sat down and recorded my thoughts immediately after the event. So that was Tarka's capsize test. How did she do? Well, she didn't really pass the flying colours. I wouldn't say she failed, but I'm not quite sure what a fail would have looked like, because I think most issues could have had a some kind of solution or workaround. A pass the flying colours would have meant, I suppose, that no further work was required to make her capsize safe. But that's not the case, because well, her buoyancy tanks took on quite a bit of water and would have continued to take on water, I guess, until possibly maybe she sank, and that's not ideal at all. So the fixes, I suppose the first question is, do we make the buoyancy tanks completely watertight? I think the weak point is the hatches, the hatch covers. Is it possible to make them completely watertight? Probably not. So then the next solution, and I think this is probably the one I feel that I go with, is we fill the buoyancy tanks with something buoyant, i.e. a buoyancy bag. We could also put buoyancy bags along the underneath the benches to help lift Tarka out of the water. So I think buoyancy bags in these buoyancy tanks covered by the hatch covers and along here, and that should be enough buoyancy, because the good news was that despite the buoyancy tanks being quite full with water, which I say probably on average a half full at least by the time we brought Tarka up, she was just about buoyant enough for me to be able to bail her out. The lowest point to the water was this, the outboard mounting cutaway just there. So that was just about a wash, and on a calm lake with no waves I could bail fast enough for the boat to start lifting up out of the water, and once that was well clear of the water, then of course we were away. But of course in real life there might well be waves, and the outboard would be on the back, adding quite a lot of extra weight. So yeah, it was marginal today, and that was with as little weight in the boat as there could possibly be. So things to think about, things to talk to the boat builder Pete about in a few weeks' time, and a bit more work to do over the winter. It was certainly a very useful thing to do. I'm very glad that the first time we capsized Tarka was not by accident on a rough, windy day. Might well end up having to do another capsize trial in the spring once we've hopefully got the problems fixed, and see how much better she does then. So next thing is going to be hiring an old gaff-rigged wooden sailing yacht on the Norfolk Broads. I've booked one for next weekend, so Sarah and I are going up there, leaving the kids with Nana, and we're going to see how the professionals do wooden gaff-rigged boat sailing. Bye for now.